Rambam. We are learning the laws of Bikurim, the laws of offering to the Kohen, the priest, the various selections that they get for doing the service in the Holy Temple. They don't get a portion of the land of Israel, so they're supported by the people. We're doing chapter 5, which is the third chapter in the 3 chapters of the day. This is the laws of when you have dough of bread, or for bread, that you separate, called challah, which means to separate from the dough and to give it to the Kohen, which is a mitzvah that we have today. We have the mitzvah, we can't give it to the Kohen, as we will see, I don't know, whatever we'll see, because in the end, the Kohen is impure today, so they can't have it, right?
1/10?
No.
Oh,
Can we wait till we get there? Like, is there a reason to bring it up now?
no, there's not reading whatsoever.
Okay, so let's wait if we can see, but it's not that.
Okay.
Between 140th and 160th, but we'll get there. Okay, so chapter 5, Bikurim, the last chapter. Okay, there's a positive commandment to separate a portion, right? A portion of that is raised up, called truma. It's a truma, right? Raised up from the dough and given to the Kohen, right? So what does it mean from the dough? What's important over here is, remember, 2% of the grain goes to the Kohen, 10% goes to the Levite. Now, whatever you have from the grain, now you're making dough. So you're giving again, right? Constantly giving. So here is it verse says, Tarim raise up from the first challah dough. Arisa's name is dough, actually, challah, the challah. Right? According to scriptural law, the first portion does not have a minimum, a measure. Instead, even if one set aside a portion the size of barley corn, is absolved the entire dough. Right? Now the entire dough you could make usage of. All you have to give biblically, literally a little piece, right? When a person designates the entire dough as challah, his deeds are of no consequence as it leaves a portion of it for himself. Because it says, mi reshis, from the beginning, from it you have to take. But if you give the whole thing, then you take from. So it didn't do what the verse says. Mm-hmm. Therefore, it's of no consequence. Got it? Mm-hmm. Now, that was biblical law, according to which we don't follow, right? We don't follow biblical law. What do we follow? Rabbinic law. According to rabbinic law, one should separate 1/24th of the dough. Sorry, why did I say one? I said 1/24th of the dough, so that it will be a significant present for the Kohen. This is derived from Deuteronomy, which it says, give him something that is fit to be called a gift.
Thank you. Now I know.
1/24th, right? But as we will see, that's only a certain amount of dough that you have. If it's less than that, like if you're making 1 challah a week, you don't do this mitzvah. I think it might be like around 3 challahs approximately that you'd be making, or at least more than, I think, a little more than 2, if I'm not mistaken. Anytime. It's got nothing to do with Shabbos. We call the bread on Shabbos challah. The challah means that portion that you're giving to the Kohen, right? A baker who makes dough to be sold in the marketplace should separate 1/48th, almost 2%, right? The rationale is that since the dough is larger, this measure contains enough to be a significant present, right? That's the idea. because he's a baker, so he's doing it for selling. He's going to make a huge amount. So 1/48 is sufficient. Even when a private person makes dough for a wedding celebration of his son, he should separate 1/24th, even though it is large, so as not to make a distinction in the requirement of the dough made by a private person. And so even though you're private, you're making a lot because you're making for your son's wedding, right? You still do 1/24 not to make a distinction. Conversely, when a baker makes a small dough, he must separate only 1/48 so as not to make a distinction, the requirement of the dough made by the baker. Right? So that's what we got to do. Okay? If a dough became impure unknowingly, or because of forces beyond one's control, one need not separate more than 1/48. If he purposely made it impure, he must separate 1/24, so that the sinner will not benefit. Impure challah is permitted to be used by a kohen as kindling fuel, like impure truma. Right? So what would they do with that impure? Right, a kohen can only eat the challah impurity.
Use this fuel.
So he's going to use it as fuel. There's a value to it, much less value, but it has a value to it. He's going to use it as fuel. I don't know exactly how because dough, I see bread how it can be used as fuel, but dough it's a little kind of damp, right?
Burn it.
I guess at one point it's gonna turn into fuel. It'll turn into like a coal, right? Once the moisture is left, I guess.
I'll try it later.
Number 5. According to scriptural law, we are not obligated to separate challah. We are only obligated, rather, to separate challah and Eretz Yisrael, in the Holy Land. When you take of the bread of the land, it says, of the land. And only when the entire people are located there, as it states, when you enter. It means when you enter, not only when the portion, and not only when a portion of you enter. Because it says, when you enter. Who's you? Majority of you, right? But if
Majority as opposed to everyone.
Hmm?
He said opposed to everyone.
Well, it says the entire Jewish people. I don't think it means 100% the entire people. Right?
Or singular.
The point being, biblically, for example, in the Second Holy Temple, only 40,000 people went from Babylon to Eretz Yisrael with Ezra. Most Jews stayed in Babylon. So therefore, biblical law did not take effect in the Second Temple because the majority stayed in Babylon. Yeah.
So they stayed in Egypt, plus they stayed
Not
in
Egypt. Babylon, no.
before
Babylon is Iraq, Iran.
But I mean, when Exodus, a lot of them stayed back.
No, they are not Jews. They're not part of the Jewish people.
Okay.
They're not Jewish. Those who stayed in Egypt didn't go out. They're not part of the Jewish people.
Now I know.
80% died.
Yeah. So they're not part of the Jewish people. Okay, but okay. For this reason, the present era, and even in the era of Ezra, and Eretz Yisrael, as we just mentioned, the observance of Challah is only a rabbinic decree, as we explained with regard to Truma. Okay. When the produce of the diaspora is brought to Eretz Yisrael, Challah must be separated from it. So if you brought dough to Israel, you got it right. Separate. The products from Eretz Yisrael brought to the diaspora, they are exempt. This is derived from, to which I bring you, implied that it is in that land you are liable, whether for produce of the land itself or the land of others. Because the verse, I will bring you, so when you bring even from outside of Israel. Now, Challah should also be separated in the diaspora by rabbinic decree. right? So that Jewish people will not forget the laws of Challah. Yeah. So some people who make Challah every week, and they make that bracha every week, right? Lahafish Challah. By the way, we're not going to probably get to it today, but what do you do with it today? You tell only first. You don't take 1/24 today. Why? Because it's impure. The challah is impure, and not only it's impure, you can't give it to the kohen because there's no service of the kohen today, and he's not going to. He doesn't need it for fuel because he's anyways impure in everything that he does, right? So it's not none of these things does he get, but what we do is we separate it, we take a little piece, and we burn it. Because you're not allowed, because it's holy, you're not allowed to have any benefit from it, right? Except for the kohen, but the kohen can't. Oh, I'm sorry. Look, it says here, challah nerav should be brought to, should not be brought into Eretz Yisrael, just as truma, the first fruits from there should not be brought into Eretz Yisrael. If one should bring such challah, it should be left to the day before Pesach and burnt like truma. Interesting. The day before Pesach, you burn your chametz, right? We do beer chametz. At the same time, back then you would also burn that which was impure, like truma, right? And challah, because it's also chametz, right? It's leavened bread. You're not allowed to have it. Although, interestingly, today we do it right away. We burn it. Okay. There are three different sets of laws that apply to challah in three different lands. The entire area that was settled by those who returned from Babylon until Tsiv, one challah should be separated according to the appropriate measure, and the Kohanim may partake of it. In the remaining portions of Eretz Yisrael that were settled by Jews who came out of Egypt, which would be only in the first year or first year and a half till the sin of the spies, right? Or so, okay, and the Kohanim may partake of it. In the remaining portions of Eretz Yisrael that were settled by Jews who came out of Egypt, but not those who returned from Babylon, marquis of Ta'amana, two challahs should be separated, one should be burnt and one should be eaten. Not clear why we did not separate two challahs there. Why do we separate two challahs there? Because the first challah is impure, because this land was not sanctified in the time of Ezra, and the first sanctification was nullified after the Jews were exiled. Nevertheless, since the land is Eretz Yisrael, Challah 148, of those separated and is burnt. Okay. Nevertheless, since the land of Israel is on Challah 148, of those separated and is burnt. The second challah is also separated and given to the kohen to eat, so that people will not say that pure truma should be burnt. For the first challah was burned, even though it was did not contract impurity in a manner that is known to all. The second challah does not have a minimum measure. Said one may separate whatever he desires because it's rabbinic ordinance. In all the lands from Mana and beyond. Oh, that says Mana beyond there. Same the other lands, two challahs should be separated. One is burnt. Okay. Since both of these are rabbinic institutions, it is preferable to make the one that is eaten larger. Accordingly, there's no minimum measure for the one that is burnt. Even the slightest amount is acceptable for one which is eaten. Even the slightest amount is acceptable, and one is eaten should be 1/48 of the dough. It is permissible to be eaten by Zabim Zavis, those who are impure, and needless to say, other people who are ritually impure. Okay, in the present age, when there's no pure dough, because the impurity imparted by a human corpse, one challah, 1/48 of the dough, is separated in Eretz Yisrael in the present era. This applies even though it is burnt. Yeah, which separated in Eretz Yisrael in present day. This applies even though it is burnt because it is impure. Since fundamental obligation to separate it is scriptural, as was the law in previous ages. He is a bantalmana. The second challah is also separated for the priest to eat. There is no minimum measure for it. Although challah from the diaspora is impure, since it is fundamental requirement to rabbinic ordinance, it's forbidden to be eaten only by kohanim who are impure. Because is forbidden to be eaten only by kohanim who are impure because of the impurity that result from the physical condition. This includes kohanim that have seminal missions, avim zavis, nidas, women who are given birth, and people afflicted by tsaras. Others who are impure.
And talking to Klein here.
Yeah, these include, yeah.
Impure small.
Others who are impure. Others are impure because they have been in contact with other sources of impurity. Even those who are impure because of contact with the corpse are permitted to partake of it. Accordingly, if there was a kohen who was a minor in diaspora, whether it's Syria or other lands,
Never mind.
it could be made by the kohen who is a minor, who has never had a seminal mission, or a female of a priestly family, was never menstruated, because they're still pure. The person need not separate the second challah. Okay, I'm gonna stop over here.
Oh. This is getting warmed up. There's coffee over there if you want. Help yourself.
Thank you.
I'll get the
All right, folks.